What if I told you that the life you're living right now was created 3 months ago, 6 months ago, maybe even a year ago, not by your actions, but by the thoughts you were thinking back then? What if everything you see around you, your bank account, your relationships, your opportunities, is nothing more than a delayed echo of your past mental state? And here's the shocking part. Most people are stuck in an endless loop, constantly creating more of what they already have, because they're living in the present instead of the future. Think about it for a moment. When you wake up tomorrow morning, what's the first thing your mind does? It looks around, assesses your current situation, and immediately starts reacting to it. You check your bank balance and feel anxiety. You think about your bills and feel pressure. You observe your circumstances and your mind automatically generates thoughts that match what you see. But here's what Napoleon Hill discovered after studying the most successful people of his time. They didn't do this. They did something radically different. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Has this ever happened to you? You work hard, really hard, putting in the hours, making the effort, doing everything you're supposed to do, and yet somehow the results you're looking for seem to stay just out of reach. It's like chasing a shadow that moves away the closer you get to it. The reason this happens isn't because you're not capable or because you're unlucky. It's because you're creating from the wrong place. See, physical reality operates on a delay. There's a time gap between the thought and its manifestation, between the seed you plant and the harvest you reap. Most people don't understand this. So they look at their current reality and use it as the basis for their thinking. They're essentially using yesterday's results to create more of yesterday. It's like trying to drive forward while only looking in the rearview mirror. Napoleon Hill called our present circumstances the residue of our dominant thoughts. Think about that phrase for a moment. Everything you're experiencing right now is residue. It's what's left over from thoughts you were thinking weeks or months ago. If you're experiencing scarcity today, somewhere in your past, you planted seeds of doubt, fear, or limitation. Not intentionally, of course. Most people don't realize they're doing it, but the mind doesn't care whether you're conscious of your thoughts or not. It simply takes whatever you give it and turns it into reality. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely shift how you approach success, money, and abundance. The wealthy, the successful, the ones who seem to attract opportunities effortlessly, they're not smarter than you, they're not luckier than you, and they certainly don't work harder than you. What they've mastered is something far more powerful. They've learned to live in the future while acting in the present. But what does that actually mean? How do you live in a future that hasn't happened yet? And more importantly, how does this invisible mental shift translate into actual money finding its way to you? That's exactly what we're going to explore, and I promise you, the mechanism behind this is both simpler and more profound than you might imagine. Here's where the transformation begins, and I mean real transformation, not the surface-level positive thinking that most people try and give up on after a week. There's a hidden truth that Napoleon Hill uncovered, something that changes everything once you truly grasp it. You can replant your destiny. Right now, today, this very moment, think of your life like a garden. If you don't like what's growing there, you don't curse the soil or blame the weather. You simply pull out the old plants and put in new seeds. Your mind works the exact same way. The thoughts you've been thinking, the mental images you've been holding, the feelings you've been recycling day after day, those are the seeds that produced your current reality. But here's the powerful part. You're not stuck with them. You can plant new seeds right now, and those seeds will create a completely different harvest. The mechanism behind this is fascinating. When you create an image in your mind that's so vivid, so detailed, so emotionally charged that your entire being responds to it as if it's already real, something extraordinary happens. Your mind and body literally begin to behave as if that future version of yourself already exists. It's not pretending. It's not fake it till you make it nonsense. It's actually reprogramming the operating system that runs your life. Your subconscious mind, which controls about 95% of your daily decisions and behaviors, cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This isn't mysticism, it's neuroscience. When you imagine something with enough sensory detail and emotional intensity, your brain creates the same neural pathways it would if you were actually experiencing it. And here's where it gets really interesting. Once those pathways exist, your mind starts automatically moving you toward making that imagined reality actual. Now, I want to go even deeper into this concept because this is where most people get it wrong and end up frustrated. Hill said that anything the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. You've probably heard that quote 1,000 times, but notice the two requirements: conceive and believe. Most people only do the first part. They conceive, they imagine, they daydream about success, about wealth, about freedom, but they don't believe it. Not really. Not in their bones. Believing isn't an intellectual exercise. It's not about convincing yourself logically that something is possible. Belief is a feeling state. It's a cellular knowing. It's when every part of your being operates from the assumption that what you desire is already yours. It's just making its way to you through the physical realm, which always moves slower than the mental realm. This is the critical distinction that separates those who manifest their desires from those who just keep wishing. You have to feel the reality of your success now, not when the money shows up, not when the opportunity knocks, not when everything falls into place. Now, before there's any evidence, before there's any proof. This goes against everything we've been taught. We've been conditioned to see before we believe. But the hidden truth, the one that unlocks real power, is that you must believe before you see. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. I create content like this that dives deep into the real principles of wealth and transformation. Not surface-level motivation, but genuine understanding that creates lasting change. When you walk through your day feeling wealthy, acting from abundance, making decisions as if success is inevitable, not hoping it might happen but knowing it's already done, you create a vibrational frequency that the universe has no choice but to match. It's like tuning a radio. Once you're on the right frequency, you receive that station. You don't create the music, it was always there, broadcasting. You just had to tune in. This journey from where you are to where you want to be isn't about acquiring something external. It's about becoming internally aligned with what you desire. The impact of this shift is immediate, even if the physical manifestations take time to show up. You'll notice yourself making different choices, seeing opportunities you walked past before, attracting different people, taking actions that feel inspired rather than forced. Write in the comments, "I'm reprogramming my reality," if this resonates with you, because what comes next reveals exactly how to maintain this new frequency, especially when your current circumstances try to pull you back into old patterns. So let's talk about what living in the future actually looks like in practice, because this is where the real revelations happen. It's not about sitting around visualizing all day while your bills pile up. It's not escaping reality or denying your current circumstances. It's something far more powerful and practical than that. It's about relocating your identity. Your identity is the lens through which you experience everything. It's the invisible framework that determines what you notice, what you believe is possible, and ultimately what you create. Right now, if you identify as someone who struggles with money, that identity filters your entire experience. You'll notice all the reasons money is hard to come by. You'll feel the stress of scarcity. You'll make decisions from a place of lack. And guess what your reality becomes? Exactly what your identity expects. But here's the hidden truth that changes the entire game. Your identity isn't fixed. It's not carved in stone. It's a choice you make every single morning when you wake up. Most people just choose the same identity they had yesterday out of habit, never realizing they have other options. Living in the future means consciously choosing a different identity today. It means getting up and declaring, I am already abundant, I am already successful, I am already at peace. Not as a wish, not as a goal, as a statement of present reality. Now, your logical mind will immediately protest. It'll say, but that's not true. Look at your bank account, look at your situation. And that's exactly the moment where transformation happens or doesn't happen. Because the universe, the quantum field, the intelligence behind reality, whatever you want to call it, doesn't respond to what you see with your physical eyes. It responds to what you emit energetically. Think of yourself as a broadcasting station. Every thought you think is a frequency. Every emotion you feel is a signal. You're constantly transmitting, and the universe is constantly receiving and responding. If you emit fear, if that's the dominant signal you're sending out, the universe says, okay, you want more things to be afraid of, here you go. It delivers circumstances that match your frequency, not because it's punishing you, but because it's mirroring you. This is the mechanism behind everything. When you emit confidence, certainty, abundance, gratitude, even before you have tangible reasons to feel those things, doors that were invisible suddenly appear. Opportunities that were always there but outside your frequency range suddenly become visible to you. People respond to you differently. Ideas come to you more easily. It's not magic, it's physics, it's resonance. Your mind operates exactly like a magnet, but here's the crucial part that most people miss. A magnet doesn't attract everything. It only attracts materials that match its magnetic field. You can put a magnet next to wood, glass, plastic, nothing happens. But bring it near iron and boom, instant attraction. Your mind works the same way. It only attracts what vibrates on the same wavelength you're emitting. This is why you can have two people in the exact same environment with the same resources, the same opportunities available, and one thrives while the other struggles. It's not luck, it's not talent, it's not connections, it's frequency. The person who's thriving is emitting a different signal. They're broadcasting from a different identity. They're living from their future self while their circumstances are still catching up. The impact of understanding this cannot be overstated. It means you're not at the mercy of your circumstances. You're not waiting for conditions to improve before you can feel better. You're recognizing that the feeling comes first and the conditions follow. It's a complete reversal of how most people operate, and it's the difference between creating your life and simply reacting to it. Now the question becomes, how do you maintain that higher frequency when your current reality keeps trying to pull you back down? How do you keep broadcasting abundance when your bank account is telling you a different story? That's where the real mastery comes in, and it involves understanding something about how your mind actually processes information. Drop a comment with, "I'm changing my frequency," if you're starting to see how this all connects. Because what I'm about to share next is the practical technique that makes this sustainable. The principle that Hill discovered isn't about wishful thinking or positive affirmations scribbled on sticky notes. It's a precise law of creation. The mind creates first. Matter obeys after. Always in that order, never the reverse. This isn't philosophy, it's the fundamental architecture of how reality actually works. And once you understand this, you realize why most people spend their entire lives waiting for conditions to change when they should be changing their mental state first. Look at every major breakthrough in human history: the airplane, the light bulb, the internet, massive fortunes built from nothing. None of these things existed in physical form. First, they existed as a complete mental reality in someone's mind before a single action was taken. The Wright brothers didn't wait for ideal conditions to build a flying machine. They didn't wait for the technology to be obvious or for someone to give them permission. They held the image so powerfully in their minds that they mentally advanced to the moment when flight was already a done deal, and they remained in that mental space until physical reality had no choice but to conform. That's the hidden truth behind every success story you've ever heard. The person who achieved it lived from the end result while they were still in the beginning stages. They didn't hope it would work out. They operated from the certainty that it already had worked out, and they were just going through the physical motions to catch up with what their mind had already completed. This is radically different from how most people approach their goals. Most people set a goal, look at their current circumstances, see all the obstacles and gaps between here and there, and immediately their mind starts generating doubt. But the person who understands this law does something completely different. They mentally leap to the future where the goal is already accomplished, and they begin living from that place emotionally and mentally right now. Now, I want to go even deeper into this because here's where the real transformation becomes accessible to you today, not someday in the future. The key is learning to feel your future as if it's happening right now. Not think about it, not plan for it, not hope for it. Feel it. There's a massive difference. When you close your eyes and imagine your desired future, most people watch it like a movie. They see themselves having success, having money, having freedom, but they're observing it from the outside. That doesn't create the emotional frequency that attracts it. You need to step into that future version of yourself. Feel what it feels like to wake up with financial freedom. Feel the relief in your chest when you realize you don't have to worry about bills anymore. Feel the security of knowing you've achieved what you set out to do. Feel the lightness of not depending on chance or luck or hoping things work out. That feeling, that specific emotional state, is the seed. Everything in nature starts as a seed. You don't plant an apple and get an apple tree tomorrow. There's a gestation period. But if you plant the seed and then dig it up every day to check if it's growing, it never will. The same is true with your desires. The feeling is the seed. Every time you return to that feeling, you're watering it. Every time you emotionally inhabit your future success as if it's already real, you're giving that seed the nourishment it needs to break through into physical form. This is why money doesn't come through pursuit. You've probably noticed this already in your own life. The harder you chase it, the more it seems to evade you. That's because pursuit comes from lack. It comes from, I don't have this, so I need to get it. That's a scarcity frequency. But attraction comes from abundance. It comes from, I already have this, I'm just allowing the physical manifestation to appear. Completely different energy. Completely different results. The decisions you make from this place are different. The actions you take feel inspired instead of desperate. The opportunities you notice were always there, but now you're finally tuned to the right frequency to see them. This isn't about sitting around doing nothing while you visualize. It's about taking action from a completely different internal state. And that changes everything about the quality and impact of those actions. Behind the scenes of every successful person's journey, you'll find this exact pattern. They felt successful before they were successful. They embodied wealth before they had wealth. They walked through their days with the emotional signature of someone who had already arrived, even when the physical evidence said otherwise, and gradually, inevitably, Reality rearranged itself to match their frequency. Leave a comment saying, "I feel it now," if you're beginning to experience what I'm describing, because the next piece reveals exactly why this works on a neurological level and how to accelerate the process. Here's something that might completely shift your perspective on where you are right now. Your current reality is not a condemnation. It's not a verdict on your worth or your potential. It's simply a delay. Think about that for a moment. Everything you desire, the money, the success, the peace of mind, the freedom, already exists. Not in some abstract metaphysical sense that you have to take on faith. It exists in your timeline, in your future, waiting for you to match its frequency. This is where most people get stuck. They look at their current situation and think, "This is my reality. This is what's true." But what they're actually looking at is old information. It's the result of thoughts and feelings they had months ago. It's outdated data. Your present circumstances are showing you who you were, not who you're becoming. And the moment you understand this, everything changes because you realize you're not trapped. You're just in the lag time between the old frequency and the new one. When your internal state finally aligns with the future you've been feeling into, when your vibrational frequency matches the frequency of the abundance you desire, the two collapse into one. The future and your present merge. And this is what Hill meant when he said, "Faith is the beginning of all wealth." Not faith in the religious sense necessarily, but faith as a vibrational state. Faith as the absolute knowing that what you desire is already yours. You're just waiting for the physical manifestation to catch up. Now, I want to go even deeper into why this works, because there's a profound truth here. That explains why some people seem to attract money effortlessly, while others struggle their entire lives. Hill recognized something that most people never grasp. The future isn't some unknown mystery. It's actually completely predictable. It's the natural result of your present mental and emotional state. If you feel poor today, if that's the dominant emotional signature running through your system, you could win the lottery tomorrow, and you'd still end up poor. We've all seen the stories of lottery winners who are broke within a few years. That's not bad luck. That's vibrational mismatch. Their external circumstances changed, but their internal frequency didn't. They still felt poor inside, so their mind unconsciously made decisions that brought them back to circumstances that matched their internal state. If you found value here, tap that like button. It's a small gesture that helps this message reach more people who need it. And it's you taking aligned action with what we just talked about. On the flip side, and this is where the real revelation happens, someone who feels abundant in the midst of actual scarcity will inevitably end up surrounded by wealth. Not might, not possibly, inevitably. Because their internal state is creating a magnetic pull that the universe has to respond to. They're broadcasting abundance, so they receive abundance. They're emitting the frequency of wealth, so wealth finds them. This is the hidden truth that transforms everything. Thought, mixed with emotion, becomes a magnetic force. Not just thought alone, not just emotion alone, the combination. When you think about success but feel doubt, you're sending mixed signals. The universe doesn't know which one to respond to, so you get mixed results. But when your thought and your emotion are aligned, when you're thinking about abundance and feeling abundance simultaneously, you create a coherent signal that has real power. Your mind at that point becomes like a tuning fork that's been struck. It vibrates at a specific frequency, and everything in your environment that matches that frequency begins to resonate with you. Opportunities you would have missed suddenly catch your attention. People who can help you mysteriously appear in your life. Ideas that solve your problems drop into your awareness. Resources materialize from unexpected places. The impact of this understanding on your daily experience is immediate. You stop waiting for your circumstances to change before you allow yourself to feel good. You stop putting your emotional well-being on hold until you have the money or the success or the relationship. You recognize that the feeling state comes first, and the circumstances follow, always. This is the journey every successful person has taken, whether they realized it consciously or not. Behind the scenes of their achievement, you'll find this pattern. They felt successful before the world acknowledged their success. They inhabited the emotional state of wealth before their bank account reflected it. They made decisions from abundance even when operating from scarcity. Type, "I choose abundance now," in the comments if you're ready to stop waiting for permission from your circumstances and start broadcasting the frequency that attracts what you desire. Because what comes next reveals the exact mechanism your brain uses to turn this emotional state into physical reality. The mechanism behind all of this is both elegant and powerful. Your thoughts alone are like blueprints on a drafting table. They have potential, they have structure, but they're static. They don't move anything by themselves. But the moment you infuse a thought with emotion, everything changes. That combination creates a living, breathing energy that moves through the quantum field and begins rearranging circumstances to match it. This is what Hill kept trying to communicate, and it's what most people completely miss. The universe, or whatever intelligence orchestrates, reality doesn't respond to your wishful thinking. It doesn't respond to your goals written in a journal. It doesn't even respond to your affirmations repeated in the mirror. It responds to your dominant feeling. The emotional state you spend most of your time in is what's creating your future right now, whether you realize it or not. Think about the implications of this. It means the universe doesn't care whether you already have something or you're just imagining it. It can't tell the difference. If you feel wealthy, genuinely feel it in your body, in your nervous system, in your cells, the universe responds to that signal and begins orchestrating circumstances that match wealth. It doesn't check your bank account first. It doesn't verify whether you're qualified to feel that way. It simply mirrors back whatever frequency you're broadcasting most consistently. This is why temporary circumstances are completely irrelevant to your ultimate trajectory. You might be broke, right? Now, but if your dominant feeling is abundance, you won't be broke for long. You might have opportunities all around you, but if your dominant feeling is scarcity, you won't see them or you'll sabotage them when they appear. The feeling creates the reality, not the other way around. Now here's where this gets really practical and immediately applicable to your life. Your mind operates like a compass, and your emotional state is what sets the direction of that compass. Every single emotion you experience is pointing you toward a different future. This isn't metaphorical, it's literal. When you feel fear, you're literally orienting yourself toward the path of loss. Your mind starts scanning for threats, looking for what could go wrong, preparing for the worst. And guess what it finds? Exactly what it's looking for. But when you feel gratitude, when that's the emotional frequency you're operating from, your compass immediately swings toward expansion. Your mind starts noticing opportunities instead of threats. You see possibilities instead of obstacles. You attract people who want to help instead of people who drain you. Same external environment, completely different experience, all determined by the emotional frequency you're holding. This is the hidden truth that changes everything about how you approach your day. You're not at the mercy of whatever emotions happen to show up. You're not a victim of your feelings. You have far more control over your emotional state than you've been led to believe. And exercising that control is the single most important decision you can make if you want to transform your life. Your emotional frequency is constantly defining your course, constantly determining which version of your future you're moving toward. There are infinite possible paths in front of you right now. Different timelines, different outcomes, all existing simultaneously as potentials. The one you actually experience is determined by the emotional frequency you maintain most consistently. Fear doesn't just feel bad. It literally navigates you toward loss. It closes doors. It makes you hesitate when you should act. It causes you to see rejection where there's actually opportunity. Gratitude, on the other hand, doesn't just feel good. It navigates you toward expansion. It opens doors. It makes you bold when boldness is required. It causes you to see abundance where others see limitation. The impact of understanding this cannot be overstated. It means that managing your emotional state isn't some secondary concern you get to after you handle the real problems. It is the real work. It's the work that determines everything else. Your emotional frequency is the rudder steering your ship, and if you're not consciously directing it, it's being directed by your circumstances, which means you're navigating using old maps based on outdated information. Behind the scenes of every major transformation, every significant success, every quantum leap forward, you'll find someone who figured out how to maintain a higher emotional frequency regardless of their current circumstances. They made the decision, the conscious choice, to feel abundant before abundance appeared, to feel successful before success was visible, to feel grateful before there was obvious evidence to support it. Write, "I control my frequency" in the comments if you're starting to grasp the power you actually have here, because what I'm about to reveal next is the practical technique for maintaining this elevated state, even when everything around you is trying to pull you back down. Let me show you something that will completely shift how you see the world around you. Right now, wherever you are, look around. Look at your phone, the chair you're sitting in, the building you're in, the clothes you're wearing. Every single object you can see was, at one point, nothing more than a thought in someone's mind. Before it was metal, plastic, fabric, or wood, it was a mental image. Someone imagined it into existence. The phone in your hand didn't exist a few decades ago. Someone had to imagine a device that could do what it does before anyone could build it. The building you're in started as lines on paper, but before that, it was a vision in an architect's mind. Everything you consider solid and real was once invisible, intangible, existing only in the realm of thought. And here's what most people never connect. You have that exact same capacity, the same creative power that brought every invention, every building, every piece of technology into existence is available to you right now for creating your own reality. The transformation happens when you truly grasp this. You're not waiting for some external force to grant you success or abundance. You're not hoping luck will finally turn your way. You're recognizing that you are the architect of your experience, and the blueprint exists in your mind. The house of your future is being designed right now by the mental images you hold most consistently. Now, I want to go even deeper into the mechanics of how this actually works, because this is where the real power becomes accessible. Hill discovered something profound about how the human mind operates. Your subconscious mind, which runs about 95% of your life on autopilot, doesn't think. It doesn't analyze. It doesn't judge whether something is realistic or possible. It simply obeys the most emotionally charged image you give. Think about what this means. Your conscious mind might say, "I want to be wealthy," but if the image in your subconscious is one of struggle and scarcity, and that image carries more emotional charge than your conscious desire, your subconscious will make sure you stay in struggle. It's not sabotaging you. It's not working against you. It's doing exactly what it's programmed to do, manifesting the image with the strongest emotional intensity. This is the hidden truth behind why so many people set goals and never reach them. They consciously decide what they want, but they never reprogram the subconscious image. The old picture, the one painted by years of doubt, fear, and limitation, still carries more emotional weight. So the subconscious keeps creating circumstances that match the old image, and the person wonders why nothing ever changes despite their best efforts. The first step toward wealth, toward any significant transformation, is building a clear image of what you desire and sustaining it until it becomes more real to you than your current doubts, more vivid than your fears, more compelling than your past failures. You have to repeat this image over and over, infuse it with emotion, live in it mentally until your subconscious accepts it as the new program. This isn't positive thinking, this is precision programming. Your subconscious is like a highly sophisticated computer. It will execute whatever program you install, but you have to install it correctly. You can't just think about wealth once in a while and expect results. You have to impress the image deeply, emotionally, repeatedly, until it overwrites the old programming. Behind the scenes of every success story, you'll find someone who mastered this process. Whether they did it consciously or intuitively, they held an image of their success so clearly, so emotionally, so consistently that their subconscious had no choice but to find ways to make it real. Their doubts still showed up. Their circumstances still challenged them, but the image they maintained was more powerful than any temporary obstacle. The impact of this practice is profound. When your subconscious is programmed with a clear, emotionally charged image of abundance, it starts working for you 24 hours a day, while you sleep, while you work, while you're doing completely unrelated activities. It's scanning your environment for opportunities that match the image. It's making connections you wouldn't consciously notice. It's guiding your decisions in subtle ways that align with the programmed outcome. This journey from where you are to where you want to be isn't about forcing external change. It's about updating the internal image. When the image changes, everything else follows naturally, inevitably, because your subconscious is the engine that drives your behavior, your perception, and ultimately your reality. Drop "My image is changing" in the comments if you're ready to start this reprogramming process, because the next revelation shows you exactly how to accelerate this transformation and make the new image stick, even when your current reality screams otherwise. Here's where the real transformation in your relationship with money begins, and it's going to challenge everything you've been taught. Hill discovered something that most people never grasp. Money is a side effect. It's not the goal. It's not the target. It's the natural byproduct of inner growth. It doesn't come because you chase it, hustle for it, or desperately need it. It comes because you become the type of person who naturally attracts it. This is a complete reversal of how most people operate. They think abundance is something you achieve, something you acquire through effort and strategy. But that's not how it works. Abundance is something you embody. It's a state of being, not a state of having. You don't get abundance and then feel abundant. You feel abundant, and then abundance flows to you. The sequence matters more than you can imagine. Now you can probably see why so many people fail despite working incredibly hard. They're seeking money with the same mindset that created their scarcity in the first place. They're trying to solve a problem at the same level of thinking that created the problem. It's like trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. You can pour more water in, work harder, hustle longer, but until you fix the hole, until you transform the internal state, the result stays the same. The hidden truth is that you can't attract what you're not vibrationally aligned with. If you feel poor inside, if scarcity is your dominant frequency, money might come temporarily, but it won't stay. It can't. It's like oil and water, they don't mix. But when you embody abundance, when that becomes your natural state of being, money finds you because you're finally a match for it. You're broadcasting the right signal, and the universe responds accordingly. This journey of transformation isn't about learning new techniques or strategies for making money. It's about fundamentally changing who you are at the level of identity and emotional frequency. It's about growing internally until abundance becomes as natural to you as breathing. And this is exactly what Hill meant when he wrote that success is not achieved by working more, but by thinking better. Most people have this completely backwards. They think the path to success is more hours, more effort, more grinding, and yes, action matters, but it's secondary. The primary creative force is thought. Thought is the raw material of the universe. Before anything can exist physically, it must exist mentally. Before you can build wealth externally, you must build it internally through the quality of your thinking. Every single thing you can see, touch, or experience began as an idea in someone's mind. The chair you're sitting in, the device you're watching this on, the clothes you're wearing, all of it started as invisible thought energy. Someone had an idea and sustained it with enough passion and emotion that it eventually materialized into physical form. This is not metaphor. This is the actual process of creation. An idea alone is just a seed. It has potential, but potential isn't enough. What makes that seed sprout and grow into something tangible is the heat of your emotion. Think about that. The emotional intensity you bring to your vision is what activates it, what gives it the energy to push through from the invisible realm into the visible one. A cold idea, one you think about intellectually but don't feel deeply, stays dormant. But an idea charged with passion, excitement, absolute conviction, that idea is unstoppable. The impact of this understanding is immediate. It means your most valuable asset isn't your time, your connections, or even your skills. It's the quality of your thoughts and the emotional intensity behind them. When you learn to think from abundance, rather than scarcity, when you infuse your vision with genuine emotion rather than desperate hope, you tap into the fundamental creative mechanism of the universe. Behind the scenes of every major fortune, every significant achievement, you'll find someone who understood this principle. They didn't just work hard. Plenty of people work hard and stay broke. They thought differently. They held ideas with emotional conviction until those ideas had to become real. Type, "I embody abundance" in the comments if this is landing for you, because what comes next reveals the exact practice that accelerates this embodiment and shifts you from seeking money to attracting it naturally. What Hill called controlled imagination is one of the most misunderstood concepts in all of personal development, and when you truly grasp it, it becomes one of your most powerful tools for transformation. Most people think imagination is just daydreaming, letting your mind drift wherever it wants to go. But that's passive imagination, and it doesn't create anything meaningful. Controlled imagination is completely different. It's deliberate. It's focused. It's the practice of turning your mind into a spiritual laboratory where you consciously design the invisible prototypes of your destiny. Think of your mind as a factory, because that's exactly what it is. Every thought you have is a production order sent to the manufacturing floor. Every emotion you feel is an operator that either speeds up the production line or slows it down. When you engage in controlled imagination, you're not just fantasizing about a better life. You're actively designing it, specifying the details, feeling into the reality of it, and sending precise instructions to your subconscious about what to create. This is where most people lose the power of their imagination. They imagine something once, maybe twice, without any real emotional investment, and then wonder why nothing happens. But Hill discovered that the great achievers, the ones who built empires from nothing, used their imagination completely differently. They didn't just think about their vision occasionally. They lived in it mentally for years, sometimes decades, without any external evidence that it would ever manifest. Now, I want to go even deeper into what sustained them through those years of apparent failure, because this is the hidden truth that separates those who achieve extraordinary things from those who give up. Faith. But not the kind of faith most people think about. Not passive faith, not hopeful wishing, not fingers crossed maybe it'll work out faith. Hill was talking about active faith, the faith of absolute certainty. This type of faith is an energetic force. It's a living, breathing conviction that what you desire is already done, already completed in the invisible realm, and it's just a matter of time before the physical world catches up. The people who maintain this level of faith are operating from a completely different reality than everyone around them. While others see obstacles and impossibilities, they see the finished product. While others doubt and hesitate, they move forward with unwavering confidence because to them, the outcome isn't in question. Think about what this means for your own journey. These achievers maintained their vision without applause, without validation, without anyone telling them they were on the right track. They held the image in their mind's laboratory, day after day, year after year, emotionally living in the reality of their success before a single piece of external evidence appeared. That's not delusion. That's the bridge between the invisible and the visible. That's the mechanism that brings thought into form. Your faith, when it's truly active, doesn't need proof. It doesn't require external confirmation. It operates from an internal knowing that's so strong, so unshakable, that circumstances become irrelevant. You're not hoping things will work out. You're not trying to stay positive despite the odds. You're living from the certainty that it's already done, and you're just going through the physical motions to align with what's already been decided in the invisible realm. The impact of cultivating this kind of faith cannot be overstated. It changes how you show up every single day. When you know with absolute certainty that your success is inevitable, you make different decisions. You take actions that others would consider too risky because to you, there's no risk. The outcome is already secured. You persist through setbacks that would crush others because setbacks are just temporary appearances in a story where you already know the ending. Behind the scenes of every major breakthrough, every impossible achievement, you'll find someone who operated from this level of faith. They saw the finished blueprint in their imagination. They felt the reality of it emotionally, and they maintained that internal state, regardless of how long it took for the external world to conform. That sustained vision, that active faith, acted as a constant signal broadcasting to the universe, rearranging circumstances, attracting resources, opening doors that seemed locked to everyone else. This is the practice that transforms imagination from a pleasant distraction into a creative powerhouse. You don't just imagine what you want once in a while. You create a detailed prototype in your mental laboratory. You revisit it daily. You refine it. You feel it as if it's already manifesting. And you maintain absolute faith that the invisible work you're doing is creating the visible results, even when you can't see them yet. Write, "My faith is active," in the comments if you're beginning to operate from this level of certainty, because the next piece reveals exactly how to maintain this vision when doubt creeps in and circumstances seem to contradict everything you're building internally. Here's something that will completely shift how you spend your days. Hill said that man's greatest power isn't intelligence, isn't talent, isn't even willpower. It's the ability to direct your attention. And the reason this is so powerful is beautifully simple. Where your attention goes, your energy follows, and where your energy flows consistently, your reality grows. Most people think they're poor because they lack money, but the real poverty is poverty of focus. Think about your average day. How much of your attention is spent on what you don't want versus what you do want? How much mental energy goes toward problems, complaints, worries, and what's wrong versus solutions, possibilities, gratitude, and what's right? If you're honest with yourself, you'll probably find that the majority of your attention is focused on the very things you're trying to move away from. And that's exactly why they keep showing up. Your attention is like a spotlight in a dark room. Whatever you shine it on becomes illuminated, becomes visible, becomes your experience. The rest fades into darkness even though it's still there. When you constantly shine your attention on scarcity, on lack, on what's missing, that's what dominates your experience. Not because that's all there is, but because that's all you're choosing to see. The transformation happens when you consciously redirect that spotlight toward what you want to grow. Now, I want to go even deeper into this because there's a perfect metaphor that makes this principle crystal clear. Your mind is exactly like a garden, not metaphorically like a garden. It functions precisely the same way. A garden doesn't stay neutral. It's always growing something. If you plant seeds intentionally and tend to them, you get flowers, fruits, vegetables. But if you abandon it, if you stop paying attention to what you're cultivating, weeds take over. They grow just as vigorously as flowers, maybe even more so, because weeds don't need your conscious effort. They thrive on neglect. Your mental garden operates identically. The weeds are thoughts of doubt, fear, complaint, resentment, worry. These grow automatically if you're not paying attention. They don't need your permission. They don't need you to plant them deliberately. They're the default crop of an unattended mind. But the flowers, thoughts of gratitude, faith, vision, possibility, abundance, these require conscious cultivation. You have to plant them intentionally. You have to water them daily. You have to protect them from the weeds that try to choke them out. The garden grows either way. That's the part most people miss. Your mind is always producing something. It's always active, always creating, always growing. The only question is what you're growing. Are you cultivating the mental landscape that creates the life you want, or are you letting whatever seeds blow in from your environment take root and dominate your internal world? Behind the scenes of every successful person's life, you'll find someone who became a master gardener of their own mind. They didn't wait for positive thoughts to show up naturally. They planted them deliberately. They didn't hope the weeds would stop growing. They actively pulled them out and replaced them with something better. This isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily practice, a moment-by-moment choice about where to direct your attention and what to allow to grow in your mental garden. The impact of this practice is profound. When you start treating your mind like the garden it is, when you become intentional about what you're cultivating, everything changes. Your energy shifts because you're no longer wasting it on mental weeds. Your decisions improve because you're operating from a clearer, more purposeful mindset. Your reality transforms because the internal landscape is finally aligned with what you actually want to create. Leave "I tend my garden daily" in the comments if you're ready to become intentional about what you're cultivating mentally, because what comes next reveals the specific practice for maintaining this garden even when life throws everything at you. Here's where most people sabotage themselves without even realizing it. And once you understand this, you'll never approach your thoughts the same way again. You cannot eliminate a negative thought. It's impossible. The very act of trying to get rid of something requires you to focus on it, and whatever you focus on expands. This is the hidden trap that keeps so many people stuck in patterns they desperately want to escape. Listen to how most people talk to themselves. I don't want to worry about money anymore. I don't want to feel anxious. I don't want to struggle. Every single one of those statements is focused on the exact thing they're trying to avoid. And the mind, your beautiful, powerful, but literal mind, doesn't process the word don't. It hears worry about money, feel anxious, struggle, and it says, okay, got it, that's what we're focusing on. then it goes to work creating more of exactly that. The transformation happens when you understand that you can't eliminate, you can only replace. Instead of fighting against what you don't want, you redirect your attention toward what you do want. Instead of saying, I don't want to worry, you say, I choose to trust. Feel the difference in those two statements. The first one keeps you locked in the frequency of worry. The second one shifts your energy entirely. Your mind redirects, and the universe, like a perfect echo, responds to the new signal you're broadcasting. This isn't just semantic wordplay. This is understanding how your mind actually processes information and creates reality. Every thought you think with emotion attached to it becomes something Hill called a hypnotic order for your subconscious. And your subconscious, this incredible servant that never sleeps, never stops, never takes a day off, receives that order and immediately goes to work, executing it. Now, I want to go even deeper into what this means for your daily life, because this is where the real power becomes accessible. Your subconscious is working for you right now, this very moment, while you're watching this. It worked for you while you slept last night. It's been working every single second of your life since the day you were born. The question isn't whether it's working. It's always working. The question is, what orders have you been giving it? If you've been repeatedly thinking thoughts of scarcity with emotional intensity, your subconscious has received that as a hypnotic command, and it's tirelessly building circumstances that match scarcity. It's filtering opportunities out of your awareness. It's making decisions that keep you stuck. It's creating the very reality you keep experiencing, not because it wants to harm you, but because it's perfectly executing the orders you've given it. But here's the beautiful part, the part that changes. Everything, your subconscious doesn't judge the quality of your orders. It doesn't decide whether they're good for you or not. It simply executes. So the moment you start giving it different orders, repeated with genuine emotion, it immediately shifts direction and starts building different circumstances. Day and night, while you're working, walking, eating, sleeping, it's constructing the invisible framework that will manifest as your visible reality. Behind the scenes of your life, there's this tireless worker, this invisible servant, constantly arranging pieces, creating connections, preparing circumstances that match whatever you've emotionally impressed upon it. Most people never consciously communicate with this part of themselves. They just let random thoughts, reactive emotions, and environmental programming dictate what orders their subconscious receives. Then they wonder why their life feels out of control. The impact of taking conscious control of this process is immediate. When you realize that every emotionally charged thought is a command, you become incredibly selective about what you think and feel. You stop indulging in worry, not because you're suppressing it, but because you recognize it's an order for more things to worry about. You start deliberately choosing thoughts that match the reality you want to create, infusing them with emotion, repeating them until they become the dominant program. Type I give clear orders in the comments if you're ready to start consciously directing your subconscious instead of leaving it on autopilot, because what comes next reveals the exact technique for making these new orders stick and overriding years of old programming. The most liberating and simultaneously terrifying truth about your subconscious is this: it doesn't distinguish between positive and negative orders. It's completely neutral. It doesn't care whether the command you give it will make you happy or miserable. It simply receives the instruction and executes it with perfect precision. This is why the language you use with yourself matters more than almost anything else you do. When you say, "I'm so tired of not having money," what do you think your subconscious hears? It doesn't hear the frustration. It doesn't hear the desire for change. It hears "not having money" said with intense emotional charge, and it receives that as the order. So it continues perpetuating the exact circumstance you're complaining about. Not because it's cruel, but because it's obedient. You gave it a clear command, emotionally reinforced, and it's doing exactly what you told it to do. But the moment you shift your language, everything changes. When you say, "My life is full of opportunities," with genuine feeling behind it, your subconscious receives a completely different instruction. It immediately starts scanning your environment for opportunities. It begins filtering your perception to notice doors you would have walked past before. It guides your decisions toward actions that create more opportunities. Same world, same circumstances, completely different experience, all because you changed the order. This is the hidden truth that transforms everything once you truly grasp it. Your words aren't just sounds you make. They're commands to the most powerful creative force you have access to, your subconscious mind. Every statement you make about yourself, about your life, about your future, is being received and executed. The question is whether you're giving commands that build the reality you want, or commands that reinforce the reality you're trying to escape. Now, I want to go even deeper into the mechanics of why this works, because Hill didn't speak in metaphors when he said, "Thoughts are things." He meant it literally. A thought isn't just a fleeting mental event that disappears into nothing. A thought is an actual thing, a force, an energy with real substance in the invisible realm. And when that thought is mixed with faith, with emotional conviction, it becomes a powerful creative force that shapes the material world. Think about what this means. Every positive thought you hold with genuine faith is a spark of creative energy. Each coherent action you take that aligns with that thought adds fuel to the fire. Every emotion you consciously direct toward your vision intensifies the heat. This isn't poetry. This isn't motivational fluff. This is the actual equation of manifestation. Thought plus emotion plus faith equals creative force. And that force, when sustained consistently, has to produce results. It's law. The impact of understanding this at a cellular level cannot be overstated. It means you're not powerless. You're not waiting for external circumstances to grant you permission to succeed. You're recognizing that you hold the raw materials of creation in your mind right now. Every thought you choose to think, every emotion you choose to feel, every word you choose to speak is either building your future or dismantling it. Behind the scenes of every transformation you've ever witnessed, every success story you've admired, you'll find someone who figured out how to keep their inner fire burning. They understood that positive thoughts aren't just nice to have. They're the actual substance from which success is built. They recognize that coherent actions, ones that align with their vision rather than contradict it, compound over time into unstoppable momentum. They mastered the art of directing their emotions toward what they wanted to create instead of what they feared. This journey you're on right now, this process of learning to consciously direct your thoughts and emotions, is the most important work you'll ever do. Because everything else in your life flows from this. Your relationships, your finances, your health, your opportunities. All of it is downstream from the thoughts you're thinking and the emotional orders you're giving your subconscious. Write "thoughts are things" in the comments if this reality is settling into your awareness, because what I'm about to share next is the specific practice that turns this understanding into tangible results you can measure. So let's talk about what real belief actually looks like, because this is where most people completely miss the mark. Hill wasn't talking about religious faith when he discussed belief. He was talking about something much more tangible, much more visceral. He was talking about mental and emotional faith, a vibrant certainty that lives in your body, not just in your head. This is the kind of belief that activates invisible forces, that sets the universe in motion on your behalf. When you truly believe something, Not just intellectually accept it, but genuinely believe it at the cellular level. Your entire physiology changes. Your breathing becomes deeper, steadier. Your voice takes on a different quality, more confident, more resonant. Your posture straightens. Without you consciously thinking about it, you begin to walk differently, move differently, carry yourself like someone who already has what they want. This isn't acting. This isn't fake it till you make it. This is your body responding to the certainty in your mind. Think about something you absolutely believe right now, something you have zero doubt about. Maybe it's that the sun will rise tomorrow, or that gravity will keep you grounded. Notice how that belief feels. There's no tension around it. No need to convince yourself, no second guessing. It's simply true, and your body reflects that certainty. That's the same quality of belief you need to bring to your vision of abundance. Not hope, not wishful thinking, absolute, unwavering certainty. The transformation from intellectual understanding to embodied knowing is the bridge between dreaming and manifesting. You can intellectually understand that you deserve wealth, that it's possible for you, that the principles work. But until that understanding drops from your head into your gut, into your cells, into the way you breathe and walk and speak, it remains theoretical. The moment it becomes embodied, everything shifts. Now, I want to go even deeper into what sustains this belief over time, because here's the reality. You're going to face resistance. The old patterns, the old reality, the old circumstances aren't going to just dissolve immediately. They have momentum, they have inertia, and this is exactly where Hill's principle of persistence becomes absolutely critical. He said that persistence is the ingredient that converts faith and action into inevitable results. Not possible results, not probable results, inevitable results. Persistent faith works like water on stone. If you've ever seen a rock that's been worn smooth by a river, you've witnessed this principle in action. Each individual drop of water hitting that rock seems completely insignificant. It doesn't make a visible dent. It doesn't appear to change anything. But drop after drop, day after day, year after year, that water reshapes solid stone. It doesn't fight the rock. It doesn't force. It simply persists, and persistence always wins. That drop is you. That rock is your old reality, your current circumstances, the resistance you're facing. Each time you return to your vision with faith, each time you act as if it's already done, each time you choose the thought that aligns with your future instead of the thought that confirms your past, you're another drop. Individually, these moments might seem too small to matter, but collectively, sustained over time, they become an unstoppable force that erodes every obstacle. The hidden truth here is that most people quit just before the breakthrough. They hit resistance and interpret it as evidence that it's not working. But resistance isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign you're encountering the old structure, and that structure is about to give way. The rock doesn't crumble after the first drop or the 100th drop, but it does crumble. Persistence guarantees it. Behind the scenes of every major success, you'll find someone who refused to stop. They didn't persist because they were stubborn or foolish. They persisted because their faith was real, embodied, unshakable, and they understood that time was on their side. Every day they maintained their vision was another drop eroding the resistance. Drop "I persist with faith" in the comments if you're committed to being that steady drop of water. Because what comes next reveals exactly how to maintain this persistence when everything around you screams that you should give up. Here's a truth that will save you years of frustration. The universe doesn't reward effort alone. It doesn't reward good intentions. It doesn't even reward hard work. What it rewards, consistently and without fail, is clarity combined with constancy. Hill discovered this pattern after studying hundreds of successful people, and he distilled it into one simple principle: sustained conviction beats everything else, not haste, not desperate desire that burns hot one day and cold the next, not hope that wavers with every setback. Sustained conviction, clear vision maintained with unwavering consistency. When you imagine your future, and this is crucial, you can't do it from a place of need. Need is desperation. Need is lack, looking for fulfillment. The energy of need repels the very thing you're seeking because it broadcasts scarcity. But when you imagine from certainty, from that deep internal knowing that what you desire already belongs to you, you're operating from an entirely different frequency. You're not hoping it might happen. You're not wishing it could happen. You know it's already done, and you're simply living in the gap between the invisible completion and the visible manifestation. This shift from need to certainty is the transformation that changes everything. It's the difference between begging the universe for scraps and claiming your inheritance. It's the difference between someone who's trying to get somewhere and someone who's already arrived mentally and is just waiting for the physical world to catch up. The energy is completely different, and the universe responds to that energy with mathematical precision. Now, I want to go even deeper into the mechanism that makes this work, because there's a hidden truth here about the power of your words that most people never grasp. Every single word you speak with emotion attached to it is a direct order to your subconscious. Not a suggestion, not a request, an order. And your internal voice, that constant conversation you have with yourself from the moment you wake up until you fall asleep, is the chisel that's sculpting your destiny minute by minute, day by day. Hill discovered something remarkable when he studied the most successful people of his era. They didn't use language the way everyone else did. Most people use words to describe their current reality, to report on what is. But the truly successful used language completely differently. They used words to dictate reality, to declare what would be. They spoke with such conviction about their future success that their words became prophecies that had to fulfill themselves. Think about the impact of this. Your words aren't neutral. They're not just communication tools. They're creative instruments. Every time you say, "I am," you're defining your identity to your subconscious, and your subconscious will work tirelessly to make your behavior match that identity. Every time you say, "I have," or "I will," you're giving an instruction that sets forces in motion. The question is whether you're using this power consciously or unconsciously, constructively or destructively. Behind the scenes of your daily life, there's this constant stream of self-talk shaping your reality. For most people, it's unconscious, repetitive, and largely negative. They describe what they see, which is the result of their past thinking, and in doing so, they perpetuate the same patterns. But the person who understands this principle becomes incredibly intentional with their words. They stop describing limitation and start declaring possibility. They stop reporting problems and start announcing solutions. This journey from unconscious language patterns to conscious word choice is one of the most powerful transformations you can make. It doesn't require any external resources. It doesn't depend on circumstances. It's something you can start doing right now, this very moment, and the effects begin immediately. Your subconscious is listening to every word, and it believes whatever you tell it with enough emotional intensity and repetition. Leave "my words create my world" in the comments if you're ready to become conscious of the orders you're giving every day, because what comes next reveals the exact formula for using language to accelerate your transformation and collapse the time between desire and manifestation. Here's where most people completely waste their time with affirmations and wonder why nothing changes. They stand in front of a mirror, repeating positive statements, mechanically saying, "I am wealthy, I am successful, I am abundant," but their tone is flat, their body is tense, and deep down, they don't believe a word of it. And then they're confused when their reality doesn't shift. The hidden truth is this: your subconscious doesn't respond to what you say with your mouth. It responds to what you feel while you're saying it. Think about the difference between someone telling you, "I love you," with genuine warmth in their eyes, versus someone saying the same words while looking at their phone with a monotone voice. Same words, completely different impact. Your subconscious is even more sensitive than that. It can detect the slightest mismatch between your words and your feelings. If you're saying, "I am abundant," while feeling broke, anxious and desperate, your subconscious ignores the words and responds to the feeling. You're essentially giving it a command that says, "I'm broke, anxious, and desperate," and it dutifully creates more circumstances to match. This is why empty affirmations don't work. Not because affirmations themselves are useless, but because most people are doing them wrong. An affirmation without emotion is like a seed without water. It has potential, but it won't grow. You must feel the truth vibrating behind each word. You have to speak as if your cells already know it's real, as if your entire being is aligned with the statement you're making. When you do that, when word and feeling merge into one coherent signal, that's when the magic happens. Now, I want to go even deeper into the creative power of language itself, because Hill understood something that most people never consider. There are words that destroy and words that create universes. This isn't metaphor. This is recognizing that language is one of the most powerful tools you have for shaping reality. Each affirmation, when repeated with genuine emotion and unshakable conviction, programs your subconscious to manifest the corresponding reality. Your word literally becomes law in the invisible plane. Think about the impact of this understanding. It means you can't afford to be careless with your words anymore. You can't casually say, "I'm so broke," or "I never get lucky," or "nothing ever works out for me," without recognizing that you're issuing commands to the most powerful creative force you have access to. These aren't just throwaway comments. They're declarations that your subconscious receives as truth and then works to validate. Behind the scenes of your transformation, there's a constant battle between the words that create and the words that destroy. Most people unconsciously use destructive language all day long. They complain, they criticize themselves, they speak about their limitations as if they're permanent truths, and their subconscious, loyal servant that it is, makes sure those words become reality. But when you become conscious of this power, when you start wielding language as the creative tool it actually is, everything changes. You begin choosing words that build the reality you want, instead of reinforcing the reality you're trying to escape. You speak abundance into existence. You declare your success as if it's already done. You affirm your worth, your capability, your inevitable victory. And you do it with such emotional conviction that your subconscious has no choice but to accept it as truth and begin manifesting evidence to support it. This journey from unconscious to conscious language use is one of the most powerful decisions you'll ever make. It costs nothing. It requires no special circumstances. It's available to you right now, and the results begin the moment you start using words with intention and emotion instead of habit and reaction. Type I. Speak my reality into being in the comments if you're ready to take full responsibility for the creative power of your words, because what comes next reveals the specific daily practice that compounds this power and turns sporadic results into consistent manifestation. So let's talk about something Hill understood that most people completely overlook. Enthusiasm isn't just a nice feeling to have when things are going well. It's actually a powerful magnifying force that amplifies everything else you're doing. Your faith becomes stronger, your actions become more effective, your mental programming becomes more potent. Enthusiasm is the accelerant that turns a small flame into a roaring fire. And here's the key insight: your overall vibration, The signal you're broadcasting to the universe at any given moment is simply the sum of your dominant thoughts and persistent emotions. Think about what this means practically. If your dominant thoughts throughout the day are worries about money, concerns about the future, replaying past failures, your vibration is tuned to scarcity and fear. Every time you worry, you're not just feeling bad. You're actively sending out a signal that says, more things to worry about, please. And the universe, responding to your frequency like a radio picking up a station, delivers exactly that. But every time you feel genuine gratitude, every time you acknowledge something good, every time you focus on possibility instead of limitation, you're emitting a completely different signal, one that says more abundance, more opportunities, more reasons to be grateful. The transformation happens when you realize you have far more control over your vibration than you thought. You're not at the mercy of whatever emotions show up. You can consciously choose thoughts that elevate your frequency. You can deliberately cultivate feelings that align with what you want to attract. This is the hidden truth behind manifestation. It's not about thinking positive thoughts once in a while. It's about shifting your dominant vibration through consistent emotional management. Now I want to go even deeper into something critical, because there's a trap that spiritual seekers fall into all the time, and Hill was adamant about this. Thought alone isn't enough. He didn't believe in spiritual passivity, in just visualizing and waiting for things to magically appear. He understood that thought creates the blueprint, but action builds the actual structure. Your desire is the initial spark that ignites everything. Your faith is the fuel that keeps the fire burning. But action is the motor that actually moves you forward and transforms invisible potential into visible results. Nothing happens until your internal energy translates into external action. You can have the clearest vision, the strongest faith, the most elevated emotions, but if you never take a step, you stay exactly where you are. Action is the bridge between the invisible and visible realms. It's how you signal to the universe that you're serious, that you're ready, that you're willing to meet your desires halfway. Behind the scenes of every success story, you'll find someone who didn't just think and feel their way to victory. They combined elevated internal states with consistent external action. They visualized their success and then showed up and did the work. They felt abundant and then made decisions that aligned with abundance. They maintained faith and then acted from that faith instead of from fear or doubt. The impact of combining high vibration with deliberate action is exponential. When you're taking action from an elevated emotional state, from enthusiasm and certainty, rather than desperation and fear, the quality of your actions changes completely. You see opportunities others miss. You make connections that seem miraculous. You solve problems with ease. Resources appear. Doors open. Not because you're forcing anything, but because your vibration and your actions are finally aligned and moving in the same direction. This journey requires both inner work and outer work, both invisible cultivation and visible execution. You can't skip either part. The inner work without action is just daydreaming. The action without elevated inner states is just exhausting hustle that rarely produces lasting results. Write, "I align thought with action" in the comments if you're ready to stop choosing between inner and outer work and start integrating both, because what comes next reveals the rhythm that makes this sustainable long-term without burning out. There's a moment in your journey when something remarkable happens, and it's one of the clearest signs that you're finally aligned. Action stops feeling like effort. You stop pushing, forcing, grinding your way through resistance. Instead, the right actions begin to flow through you almost effortlessly. You make a phone call at exactly the right moment, just when the person on the other end was thinking about exactly what you have to offer. You meet someone casually who turns out to be the perfect connection for your next move. You make decisions that your old self would have agonized over, but now they feel completely natural, obvious even. This isn't luck. This isn't coincidence. This is what happens when your internal vibration finally aligns with your external actions. It's as if something invisible is guiding you, orchestrating circumstances, arranging synchronicities. And in a very real sense, something is, your subconscious, working in harmony with the universal intelligence, creating pathways that your conscious mind could never have planned. When you're vibrating at the frequency of your desired reality, the right actions don't require willpower or discipline. They arise naturally, inspired from within, perfectly timed to meet opportunity. The transformation from forced action to inspired action is one of the most liberating shifts you'll ever experience. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop overthinking every move. You simply follow the impulses that arise from your aligned state, and those impulses lead you exactly where you need to go. This is what Hill meant when he talked about faith guiding action. It's not blind faith, it's faith that has become so embodied, it automatically generates the right moves at the right time. Now, I want to go even deeper into something that separates those who succeed from those who give up, because this is where Hill's teaching becomes truly revolutionary. He held a conviction that few people dare to sustain. Every obstacle is a disguise for success. Every single one. That setback you're facing right now, that door that just slammed in your face, that person who rejected you, that plan that fell apart, behind each apparent blockage hides an opportunity that only people vibrating from faith can actually see. Most people encounter an obstacle and interpret it as evidence that they're on the wrong path, that it's not meant to be, that they should quit. But Hill discovered that every adversity, without exception, carries within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. The key is whether you're operating from a frequency high enough to see that seed and nurture it into growth, or whether you're so focused on the obstacle itself that you miss the opportunity it's presenting. Think about the impact of this perspective shift. Suddenly, nothing can stop you. A rejection becomes redirection toward something better. A failure becomes feedback that refines your approach. A loss becomes the clearing that makes room for a greater gain. You're not trying to convince yourself that bad things are good. You're recognizing that in the universe's economy, every apparent setback is actually a setup for something better if you maintain the vision and faith to see it through. Behind the scenes of every major success story, you'll find moments where everything seemed to be falling apart. The crucial difference is that successful people didn't interpret those moments as endings. They saw them as plot twists in a story that was still unfolding. They maintained their vibration high enough to recognize the hidden opportunity, and then they had the courage to act on it while everyone else was retreating. This journey you're on isn't going to be obstacle-free. That's not how growth works. But when you understand that obstacles are actually disguised opportunities, testing your faith and refining your character, you stop fearing them. You start looking for the seed of benefit in every challenge, and that simple shift in perspective transforms your entire experience. Drop "I see opportunity and obstacles" in the comments if you're ready to stop interpreting challenges as stop signs and start seeing them as detours towards something better. Because what I'm about to reveal next shows you exactly how to extract the benefit from adversity. Here's something that explains why some people can do everything right and still not get results. The bridge between mind and matter only activates when there's perfect alignment. You can't have your thoughts saying one thing, your emotions feeling another, and your actions doing something completely different, and expect the universe to know what you actually want. That's not a coherent signal. That's static. That's noise. And the universe doesn't respond to noise. If you say, "I am abundant" with your words, But your body is tense with financial anxiety, and your actions are driven by desperation. There's no bridge. There's no connection between the invisible realm of thought and the visible realm of matter. The transformation happens when all three levels, thought, emotion, and action, are broadcasting the same message, when what you think, what you feel, and what you do are all aligned in the same direction. That's when the bridge activates. That's when the quantum field responds. This is what modern science is finally catching up to, what quantum physicists call the observer effect. The observer alters the observed. Your consciousness doesn't just passively witness reality, it actively shapes it. Matter responds to the consciousness that perceives it. When you look at your life through the lens of scarcity, genuinely feeling it, thinking it, acting from it, the quantum field arranges itself to match that expectation. But when you observe your life through the lens of abundance, with total alignment between thought, feeling, and behavior, the field has no choice but to reorganize itself to reflect that reality. Now, I want to go even deeper into what this reveals about the fundamental nature of the universe. Because once you understand this, blame and victimhood become impossible. The universe isn't a judge sitting in judgment of your worthiness. It isn't deciding who deserves success and who doesn't. It's a mirror, perfectly neutral, infinitely responsive. It simply reflects back to you whatever you're projecting onto it. Think about what this means for your daily experience. If you approach life with fear, if that's the dominant frequency you're emitting, you'll see evidence of scarcity everywhere you look. Not because scarcity is the only thing that exists, but because fear creates a filter that only lets you perceive threats and limitations. You'll miss the opportunities standing right in front of you because your fearful consciousness literally cannot register them. They exist, but they're invisible to you because you're not vibrating at the frequency required to see them. But when you look at the universe with power, with confidence, with the certainty that you're supported and guided, suddenly you see opportunities everywhere. Same universe, same circumstances, completely different perception. The opportunities were always there. The possibilities were always available. You just couldn't see them from a lower vibrational state. And when you approach life with absolute certainty, when you know beyond doubt that everything is working in your favor, you start noticing what most people dismiss as coincidences, miraculous alignments, perfect timing, unexpected help appearing exactly when needed. The hidden truth is that these aren't actually miracles or coincidences. They're the natural result of a consciousness that's aligned with abundance, reflecting back through the mirror of reality. Behind the scenes of what looks like luck or divine intervention, there's simply a person who learned to control what they're projecting and therefore what they're reflecting. The impact of understanding this is profound because it puts all the power back in your hands. You're not waiting for the universe to change its mind about you. You're recognizing that the universe has no mind to change. It simply mirrors. Your job isn't to convince it you're worthy. Your job is to change what you're projecting so the reflection changes. Automatically, this journey from feeling like a victim of circumstances to recognizing yourself as the creator of your experience is the most empowering shift possible. Nothing external needs to change first. The moment your internal state shifts, the mirror responds. Type "I am the observer" in the comments if this truth is landing in your awareness, because what comes next reveals the specific daily practice that keeps you aligned as the conscious creator of your reality. So let's talk about what actually separates people who achieve their dreams from people who just keep dreaming. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not even circumstances. Hill identified it clearly: discipline. But not the kind of discipline that feels like deprivation or punishment. He meant discipline as the steady hand on the rudder of your ship. It's what keeps you on course when the wind blows hard, when storms hit, when every external force is trying to push you off track. Most people think discipline means forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. But the discipline Hill talked about is different. It's the discipline of maintaining your vibrational frequency regardless of what's happening around you. It's the ability to feel abundant when your bank account says otherwise. It's the strength to think thoughts of success when circumstances scream failure. It's keeping your vision clear and your faith strong when everyone around you doubts. This kind of discipline is invisible to others, but incredibly powerful to the universe. The transformation from scattered desire to focused achievement happens when you develop this inner discipline. Anyone can feel good when things are going well. Anyone can believe in their dreams when evidence supports them. But the person who maintains their mental and emotional state, regardless of external conditions, that's the person who actually manifests what they desire. Because that steady vibration, that consistent signal, is what the universe responds to. Not your occasional bursts of enthusiasm, not your hopeful moments, your sustained, disciplined frequency. Now, I want to go even deeper into the specific technique Hill taught for developing this discipline, because this is where theory becomes practice. He called it autosuggestion, and it's one of the most powerful tools you have for consciously programming your subconscious. Most people let their subconscious get programmed by default, by their environment, by media, by other people's opinions, by random thoughts that drift through their mind. But autosuggestion is how you take control of that programming. It's a process of deep, deliberate communication with your subconscious mind. Think of it as having a direct conversation with the invisible motor that actually runs your life. Your subconscious controls your habits, your automatic responses, your instincts, your perception. It's operating 24 hours a day, managing 95% of your behavior, and here's the revolutionary part. You can give it direct instructions through auto-suggestion. What you repeat to yourself with genuine emotion and unwavering conviction becomes an energetic order that your subconscious accepts as truth and then executes with absolute precision. It doesn't question whether the statement is currently true. It doesn't analyze whether it's realistic. It simply receives the emotionally charged instruction and goes to work making it real. This is why affirmations work. When they're done correctly, with emotion, with repetition, with conviction, and why they fail when they're just empty words. Behind the scenes of every major transformation, you'll find someone who mastered this technique. They didn't just hope for change. They programmed change into their subconscious through deliberate emotional repetition. Day after day, they told their subconscious who they were becoming, what they were creating, how their life was unfolding, and they did it with such feeling that their subconscious had no choice but to accept it and begin orchestrating circumstances to match. The impact of consistent autosuggestion is staggering. You're literally rewriting the operating system of your mind. You're replacing old programs of limitation with new programs of possibility. You're overriding years of negative conditioning with positive, purposeful direction. And unlike trying to change your external circumstances directly, which can feel like pushing a boulder uphill, changing your internal programming feels more like redirecting a river. Once you shift the course at the source, everything downstream changes naturally. Write, "I program my subconscious daily" in the comments if you're ready to take active control of your mental programming, because what comes next reveals the exact formula for auto-suggestion that makes lasting change inevitable. Here's something that might surprise you about the journey to wealth and success. You can't do it alone. Hill was crystal clear about this. No matter how strong your vision, how unwavering your faith, how disciplined your mind, there's a multiplying effect that only happens when you cooperate with the right people. This isn't about needing help because you're weak. It's about recognizing that conscious union with others who share your vision creates exponential results that you could never achieve solo. Think about it like this. One person with a clear vision can create something significant. But when two people with aligned vision and complementary talents come together, they don't just double the results, they multiply them. The energy amplifies, doors open that were locked to either person individually. Resources appear that weren't accessible before. Ideas emerge from the synergy that neither person would have thought of alone. This is the hidden truth behind every major fortune, every groundbreaking innovation, every empire that's ever been built. Behind the scenes, you'll always find cooperation with the right people at the right time. The transformation from solo struggle to collaborative flow is one of the most powerful shifts you can make. It requires letting go of the myth that you have to prove yourself alone, that asking for help is weakness, that sharing credit diminishes your achievement. When you understand that cooperation is actually a force multiplier, you start seeking out people whose strengths complement yours, whose vision aligns with yours, whose energy elevates yours. And when you find those connections, magic happens. What would have taken you years alone manifests in months. What seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Now, I want to go even deeper into how all of this comes together, because we've covered a lot of ground and there's a beautiful convergence that happens when you understand how these principles work in concert. We've talked about living in the future mentally and emotionally. We've explored how your thoughts create reality, how your words program your subconscious, how your vibration attracts matching circumstances. We've discussed faith, persistence, discipline, imagination, enthusiasm, action, and now cooperation. These aren't separate techniques you pick and choose from. They're interconnected principles that, when combined, create an unstoppable force. Hill's ultimate teaching was this: live in the future, not physically, obviously, but mentally and emotionally. Feel right now that you already are what you desire. Experience the emotions of having achieved your goals. Walk through your day as the person you're becoming, not the person you used to be. When you do this, when you combine clear vision with unwavering faith, when you support that faith with constant aligned action, when you program your subconscious through autosuggestion, when you use your imagination as a laboratory for your future, when you maintain discipline in your thoughts and emotions, when you persist through obstacles knowing they're disguised opportunities, when you cooperate with others who amplify your vision, something miraculous happens. Money stops being something you chase. It becomes something that finds you. Opportunities stop being rare, lucky breaks. They become the natural result of your elevated frequency. Abundance stops being a distant dream. It becomes your lived reality. Not because the external world changed, but because you changed internally, and the external world, being a perfect mirror, had no choice but to reflect that change back to you. The impact of truly living in the future while acting in the present is that the gap between desire and manifestation collapses. Time seems to bend. What others say takes years happens for you in months. Synchronicities become your normal. People appear exactly when you need them. Resources flow from unexpected sources. Every piece falls into place with perfect timing. Leave "I live in my future now" in the comments if everything we've discussed is converging into a clear understanding of how to create the life you desire, because what I'm about to share in these final moments will tie everything together and give you the one practice that activates all of this immediately. If you've made it this far, I want you to know something. You're not here by accident. Out of everyone who started watching, you're among the few who stayed until the end. That tells me you're serious about this transformation. You're not just casually interested in Success, you're committed to understanding how it actually works. And that commitment is exactly what separates those who change their lives from those who just keep wishing things were different. Everything we've covered today, from Napoleon Hill's timeless principles to the practical mechanics of how your mind creates reality, it all comes down to one simple decision. Are you going to keep living in your past, reacting to what already happened, or are you going to start living in your future, creating what's about to happen? Because now you know how. You understand the mechanism. The only question is whether you'll actually use it. If this resonated with you, if something shifted inside while you were watching, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I create content like this regularly, diving deep into the principles that actually work for creating wealth, success, and genuine transformation. Not surface-level motivation that fades by tomorrow, but real understanding that changes how you see yourself and your potential. You being here tells me you value substance over hype, and that's exactly what you'll find on this channel. And leave a comment saying, "I'm living in my future now, so I know you made it all the way through." When I see those comments, it reminds me why I do this work. It creates a community of people who are actually applying these principles, not just consuming content. Plus, it helps the algorithm show this video to more people who need to hear this message, people who are ready for it just like you were. If you found value in what we explored today, just tap that like button. It's a small gesture that makes a massive difference in getting this information to the people who need it most. And honestly, if you've invested this much time in understanding how to transform your reality, a quick like is just continuing that energy of aligned action we talked about. Now, there's a video right here that goes even deeper into one specific aspect of what we covered today. It's the perfect next step on this journey. Click on it and continue with me over there. Let's keep this momentum going, because the future you're creating, it's waiting for you to step into it fully. I'll see you in the next one.